Hello, we appreciate you joining us for Webinar Wednesday. Today, Steve Mackey, one of our awesome sales consultants, will be talking about cybersecurity for libraries. But before I pass it over, I'm just going to mention a few housekeepings. First, we are recording. So if you want to share this with your colleagues or watch it again, the recording will be available on our website starting tomorrow. But since you're joining live, you have the opportunity to ask questions, so please feel free to use the Q&A at the bottom of your screen throughout the presentation. Steve, welcome to Webinar Wednesday.
Thank you, Ashley, and thanks to everybody who took a little time to join us this afternoon. Today, as Ashley mentioned, we're talking a little bit about cybersecurity and libraries. And as you all know, information is the library's main business, and a lot of those resources have gone online, just like many other businesses who now have a large digital footprint. Libraries do as well. You host your integrated library system. Patrons have access to online full text resources delivered digitally. They can access information from home. All of these conveniences that we take at face value come with a little bit of a cost because in the world today, there are plenty of people who still want to get by without doing the work or trying to find information that's not rightly theirs. And as libraries move more and more into the digital age, you are a prime target for cyber threats. So today we wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about what those look like and how you can address those in your library. And kind of about some of the things that I talked about on the previous slide, it matters because a lot of your important information is now available out on the web. You collect sensitive data from your patrons. You're storing passwords, credentials, and a lot of your critical infrastructure is now online. Libraries today typically may not have the type of cybersecurity team that larger organizations have. So typically they'll partner with local government organizations to fill in that gap. Before we get started, we thought we might take a quick poll to understand from our attendees what their comfort with cybersecurity knowledge is. So, how would you rate yourself? Are you basically a hacker in a librarian's body? Or are you down toward the bottom where you thought fishing was just a weekend hobby that you and your friends did on the lake on the weekend? We'll take about 30 seconds and give you all time to respond. And Justin will look at our results here. It looks like you've got a general awareness of cybersecurity, so that will be interesting. Hopefully, you'll end up from today's webinar with a little bit of information that you can act on. So let's talk a little bit about some of the common threats that we see that face libraries today. The first row we talk about phishing attacks. These are basically email attacks where a bad actor is pretending to be your bank or your publisher or someone else to try to get you to share information that they can use to go in and log in and do bad things to your account. You'll hear the term phishing with the PH. You will hear spear phishing, where someone actually does a little bit of research about you to make that email look a little bit more reliable than just a mass market phishing. You'll hear about, spear phishing. They can target the C-level suites with those attacks. You are beginning to see attacks in your social media. So it might come through Messenger. Those are typically called smishing attacks. So all of those where something may just not like look right in your inbox, you kind of want to be wary of. Next classification we have is ransomware. The most recent example of this was Seattle Public Library. They all of their operational data was taken over by a hacking group, and it has taken them months to get back to some semblance of normal operations. You can have different types of data breaches where your username and password list might get exposed. I know all of us on this call have probably gotten the email from one of our department stores or cell phone provider where their systems have been hacked and your data may have been breached. Generally speaking, it's always a good idea to change that password the second that you get a particular notification about that. And then we also have uh, you are vulnerable to attack when you are on an open or a public Wi-Fi. A lot of these days we have workers that are working remotely and they may stop in at a cafe to hop on the free Wi-Fi and check up on a project before they're off to another event. Without protection, any of that data is publicly available to a user who might have the equipment that can sniff that network data. So there's always concerns about being on a public Wi-Fi. That's always a consideration. What we'll talk a little bit about what libraries do to prevent cyber attack. First and foremost is your firewall. And you can think of him as the first line of defense from any outside people trying to get into your network to do harm. You have these come in a number of different flavors. You have software and hardware firewalls. As a personal user, you most likely have a firewall installed on your router that comes from your cable company or your information, your ISP. Um, Typically, large buildings have a physical firewall where the first or the plug that goes to and from the internet is connected to a physical device that's meant to stand in the way of bad people from trying to sniff your network or to log into different ports or to have access to any of those resources that are available to you. We talked a little bit about open Wi-Fi. The way to combat a Wi-Fi or an open Wi-Fi and having people look at your information there is by using what's called a virtual private network, or VPN for short. What a VPN typically does is it will encrypt the data that you transmit over a Wi-Fi signal or over a plugged in signal. And it's typically used by companies to make it, if you think of a physical network inside of a building, if they have a lot of remote users who are working from home, a VPN helps control the flow of information from a remote desktop into the library's network, which is why they call those VPNs. The other thing that we like to talk about in terms of security for libraries is to have a separate network for your public. You don't ever really want to cross over and have a shared Wi-Fi or a physical network with your public access or points of public access and the network that your library staff uses to do their day-to-day business. Ash, I'll stop real quickly and see if we have any questions that might need to be answered right now.
None at the moment.
Very good. We will continue to talk a little bit about cybersecurity in your library. Let's talk about what libraries do to protect that data. First and foremost is encryption. That is the act of wrapping up that data into basically a character jumble that's unintelligible to anyone else except for the person who has the key to that encrypted data. This is important as well as libraries more and more contract out for data technology services. You may have your integrated library system hosted on a SaaS model. The library company provides all of our solutions on a subscription basis, available as a SaaS model. And we go to great lengths to detect and prevent attack of those SaaS instances. And one of those things is that the data is encrypted all the time. Or you will also oftentimes see a term called encryption at rest, which means even though no one's accessing that data, when it's there, it's encrypted. So no one that can access that file could actually do anything without the correct data encryption keys. You'll want to ask your library software providers if their data is encrypted at rest. The second topic that we like to talk about is access control, or you'll also see a term called least privileged architecture, and that refers to the building of a system or the building of a login based on what a user actually needs to do. You don't want to give a key to the entire building to someone who only needs a key to the locker in their gym room. So we want to look at having roles and privileges set up in all the systems that you use, whether or not you administer your own website. Certainly for your integrated library system, you have roles for circulation clerks, for administrators, for library catalogers. Any of those roles, you want to, for lack of a better word, lock them down so that they don't have access to information that's not pertinent to their day-to-day job. This isn't meant to be hierarchical or saying one job is more important than the other. With access controls and least privilege architecture, you minimize an event where someone accidentally deletes a massive trove of data or makes a configuration change that negatively impacts circulation. In order to do that, you have to have the privileges to do that. So if you take those away in different access controls, you eliminate that happening from your system. And then last, you look at data retention policies. Do you store your information for a period of 3 years, 5 years? If you don't have that in digital storage, it cannot be digitally compromised. So if you follow data retention policies, you minimize giving away access to data that you shouldn't have been keeping in the first place. Another big component is simply education. For those of you all who decided to join us today, hopefully this can be one small bit of education for you in cybersecurity. But if not, and you're in the library, I think this is a perfect opportunity to look at both patron and staff education. For example, for staff, the Library Corporation, we're pretty serious about cybersecurity. So every employee takes a course on cybersecurity to keep us update once a year. And we have to pass the test that goes along with the provider of that cybersecurity training. We are aware of all types of different levels of security, from European, Canadian, etc. So your library staff, either through your funding body or through the library, should probably consider doing something similar. If you don't know about the solution, you can't be aware of some of the telltale signs uh, that you may be having a cyber security event. And then I also think that this is a perfect opportunity for libraries to add to their public programming and adult services. Uh, Consider adding a regularly scheduled cybersecurity awareness training in your computer lab or for your patrons. You can add those to the types of events that you provide, and your community would certainly be grateful for those resources as well. And then to follow up with that, once your staff is aware of the types of cybersecurity threats that are available or that are out there, be sure to have an incident response plan in place so that there is no question what a staff member needs to do when they see a USB drive on the floor. The answer is not plug it into the computer first thing to find out what information is on there. You want to be take anything that's out of the ordinary as a potentially serious threat for you. We'll also talk a little bit about public access terminals. This is a lifesaver for many of the people in your community to have access to broadband. Helps people in invaluable ways as they seek to expand their horizons, look for another job, do study and research. But as we've talked about, Wi-Fi can be a potential attack threat. So we want you to provide Wi-Fi and internet access to your patrons, but on a separate network that doesn't have close access to your mission critical applications. It's a terrific idea to provide session monitoring so that you know who's accessing the internet from your network that you make available. And then certainly you have antivirus protection run on those machines. And generally speaking, if you are providing only internet access, have an application that puts that particular workstation in kiosk mode so that they can only access Chrome. Don't give them access, certainly, to any of the other applications. And I do know libraries that also provide word processing and access to spreadsheets and those types of things. Most commercially available products that lock down public access workstations can be configured to allow a discrete number of applications. So you can even lock those down more than just the internet. So before we go along any further, we thought it would be kind of fun to do a poll. If you were a cybersecurity superhero, what would your superpower be? And for those of you who have met us on the trade show circuit, you've seen our cataloging superhero t-shirts and swag. So we want to know who your cybersecurity superhero, what superpower would they have? I want for me to zap away the phishing emails. They come at us hot and heavy nowadays, don't they? Oh, did I put my finger on the lever and get everybody to vote on that one? Seems like we're all in agreement. Okay, let's talk a little bit about incident response and discovery. You always need to have a plan to know what happens in case this occurs at your library, just like a fire drill. You want to practice these steps so you know who to contact in case of a data breach or any of the things that we've talked about today. It doesn't need to be super complicated. Just understand clearly the steps that need to happen and who's responsible for those within your library, if not on a name basis, at least as the circulation manager or the executive in charge, etc. Make sure that that response plan and practice that response plan with a couple of different fire drills. Uh, Last, or certainly not least, is regular and consistent backups of all of your mission critical data. You make sure that you have access. If you consider the amount of time it would take to recover all of the activities from 30 days ago, is a monthly backup acceptable? I would tell you that it's not. The shorter, the smallest increment that you can helps you recover from a mission critical disaster all the more quickly. The good news is, if you are a library corporation customer, we do automatic full backups as part of the SaaS subscription. And you want to be sure to ask your vendors who's responsible for backing that data up in case something happened and the app went down. That's very important. We would also to encourage you to collaborate with your IT professionals. And as librarians, we're all subject matter experts in something a little bit different. Continue that spirit of collaboration and making sure that you're talking with people who are extremely interested in cybersecurity and know all of the anagrams that they need to know when it comes to all of the details in providing incident response plans, disaster recovery methods, and make sure you've got someone in your camp that can help you look out for that. So I hope you'll leave today's session with understanding that cybersecurity is not really a nice to have feature. It's something that your library should be talking about regularly because the threats are real. We see it every day, both on our personal devices and in our professional inboxes. Uh, Hacking is around, and it is up to each and every one of us to fight where we can so that our systems aren't compromised. So I would encourage you to leave today's webinar and think about your next steps. If you don't know about your library's disaster recovery plan or cybersecurity efforts, ask, find out about them. If they're not there, start talking about what you can do to develop a cohesive cybersecurity practice for your library. And then it's always good just to kind of stay knowledgeable. You don't have to read every journal put out by the CIA, but find you a couple of trusted resources on the web and kind of stay up to date so you can get an idea of what some of the next wave in cybersecurity threat may or may be. And then always talk with your management to make sure that as you're discussing cybersecurity, it shows up in those ever important policies that you provide to your users. And know that cybersecurity has a cost. So, having said that, I believe those are all the very few nuggets of wisdom that I can provide you. I've been working in and for libraries for more than 30 years, so I've seen just about everything. Ashley, we have any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to start with my own question because you kind of made me think about this. As you mentioned you've been in libraries for a long time.
Huh?
What would you say is when did you start to see cybersecurity incidents really rise? Because the internet's been
Oh,
around for a while, but
yeah. Gosh, I cut my teeth both in technology and libraries. So, my first idea of even needing an antivirus application was probably back when we were deploying Windows for work groups. So, cybersecurity at some level has been a threat ever since there's been a cyber to secure. What you're seeing, I think, more prevalent now are like these ransom attacks where they can come in, they spend some time to get to know a particular target, and they find their way in and can completely cripple your operations, particularly, if you have sorting equipment or you provide ebook access to your patrons at home. So, those kind of big ransomware attacks, I think, are much more recent in library land.
Thanks. I didn't realize how long it's been. um,
Yeah, no.
so we do
Sadly, since before you were born, Ashley.
um, no comment. So I do have a few questions from the group. The
Okay.
first one is, and this is the question is how small can permissions be in TLC? I think that relates to library.solution, library.solution for schools, and our
Uh-huh.
carl.solution library management platforms. But
Uh-huh.
could you speak a little bit to that?
Sure. I think we, first of all, during implementation, our migration project managers get to know a particular library's configuration and setup of how those roles go. We default to about maybe 4 or 5 roles, and I am not an expert in administration. But I do know that those roles can be copied and modified, and it can be pretty granular. For example, you may not want your volunteer circulation clerk to be able to waive a fine, and you can get down to that level of specificity. But before I say anything in particular, I would want to refer to our help to make sure I answered that correctly.
No, you absolutely did. Yeah, the library.solution for schools, and carl.solution have incredibly granular permissions, like Steve said. They can go down to locked down permissions for just very specific tasks. Your volunteers doing paging lists or helping with weeding projects. It can be very narrow, like Steve said. The next question is, I may have missed it, but who did you say was your hosting company?
Oh, well, TLC provides hosting through Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Uh, we have both their federal level for mainly super specialized libraries that require HIPAA level data policies. And then we also have the one that the preponderance of our customers use, which is the same type of hosting platform used by Fortune 100 customers with a host of data security, both physical security and data security policies that our cybersecurity experts use to monitor all of the activity on our hosted applications. So that was a long answer to Oracle.
No, that was good though. That was really helpful. And this last question, Steve, I can answer that.
Great.
It's how can I share this webinar with my IT manager? We'll get to that in just a second. And while we're getting to that, if you'd like to know more about today's topic, or you'd like to speak with Steve or another one of our awesome sales consultants, or anyone here at TLC, just click that "Let us know more" button, and we'll or "Tell me more" button, and thank you. Yeah, and so to answer that last question, I did want to mention that all of our webinars are recorded, like we mentioned in the beginning, and you can access all those webinars at tlcdelivers.com/webinar. This webinar will be up tomorrow on our website, or tomorrow. So yeah,
In perpetuity.
in perpetuity, exactly. So I just wanted, so I'm just going to say thanks, Steve. That was
Thank you,
really
guys.
great, very informative. Just to reiterate, we will have this up tomorrow on our website, tlcdelivers.com/webinars. We also have another September security webinar coming up with our Chief Technology Officer talking about disaster recovery, or when disaster strikes, creating a continuity plan for your library. That will be on September 25th, and I highly recommend you sign up for that at
Absolutely.
tlcdelivers.com/webinars. Thank you everyone so much for being here, and we hope to see you back soon.
Bye.